Psychological experiments that mess with your senses. Our brains are powerful processors, but sometimes they get tricked not by magic, but by science. Over the years, psychologists and neuroscientists have crafted mind-bending experiments that reveal just how unreliable our senses can be. Today, we're diving deep into some of the most fascinating psychological illusions and sensory experiments ever conducted. Get ready, your brain might never see or hear things the same way again. The rubber hand illusion. Whose hand is that? One of the most famous experiments in sensory manipulation is the rubber hand illusion. In this test, a participant's real hand is hidden out of view, while a realistic-looking rubber hand is placed in front of them. Both the real and rubber hand are stroked simultaneously with a brush. After a minute or two, the participant begins to feel the touch on the rubber hand, as if it were their own. Why does this happen? Because the brain is trying to make sense of the visual and tactile inputs. When the visual information matches the sensation of touch, the brain assumes the rubber hand must belong to the body. This experiment is a powerful demonstration of how the brain constructs our sense of body ownership and how easily that perception can be fooled. The McGurk effect. Your eyes change what you hear. Imagine hearing the sound "ba" repeatedly while watching a video of someone mouthing "fe." Suddenly, your brain hears "fa," even though the audio hasn't changed. That's the McGurk effect in action. This auditory illusion shows how much our sense of hearing relies on visual cues. When visual input contradicts auditory information, the brain tries to resolve the conflict by fusing them together, often leading to a completely new perception. The Ames room. Size is all an illusion. At first glance, the Ames room looks like a normal rectangular room. But step inside, and you'll notice something strange. People appear to grow or shrink as they move across the room. The trick. The room is actually trapezoidal, not square. This distorted room uses slanted floors and walls to manipulate depth perception. The result is a powerful size illusion that reveals how our brains rely heavily on context and perspective when judging the size and distance of objects. The Stroop test. When words fight colors. The Stroop test is simple: read the names of colors, but ignore what the words say and instead say the color of the ink. Try reading the word blue when it's written in red ink, and you'll find yourself hesitating or making mistakes. This experiment reveals how automatic reading is. Our brain processes written words so fast that it interferes with our ability to name the color of the ink. The Stroop test shows the conflict between different cognitive processes, and it's often used to study attention, reaction times, and executive control. Phantom limb and virtual reality. Feeling the unreal. People who lose a limb sometimes continue to feel pain or sensations in the missing limb. This is known as phantom limb syndrome. But recent studies using virtual reality have found that immersing these individuals in a VR environment, where they can see and move their missing limb, can reduce pain dramatically. This illusion demonstrates how much visual feedback matters in body perception. By tricking the brain into believing the limb still exists, researchers can help rewire the brain's pain pathways, offering both scientific insight and real relief. The checkered shadow illusion. A and B are the same. Look at a checkerboard with a shadow cast over it. Square A appears darker than square B, but in reality, they are exactly the same shade of gray. This is the checkered shadow illusion by Edward Adelson. This optical illusion demonstrates how our brains use context and contrast to interpret color and brightness. Even when our eyes receive the same light, our brain can alter the perception based on its expectations. The face inversion effect. Enter the Thatcher illusion. The Thatcher illusion is one of the most disturbing and fascinating facial illusions. When a face is upside down with the eyes and mouth flipped right side up, it looks surprisingly normal. But flip the face upright, and it looks grotesque and disturbing. This illusion occurs because our brains are specially wired to recognize faces in an upright position. When flipped, the brain processes facial features independently, missing the distortion. It reveals how specialized and sensitive our face recognition systems are and how easy they are to fool. Shepard tone. The endless rising sound. The Shepard tone is an auditory illusion that sounds like it's constantly ascending in pitch forever. But in reality, it's a looping combination of tones that fade in and out at different frequencies. This illusion creates the feeling of an audio staircase that never ends. It's been used in film scores and video games to build tension and suspense. The Shepard tone proves that our auditory system can be just as vulnerable to deception as our visual one. Mirror box therapy. Trick the brain, heal the pain. Invented by neuroscientist V.S. Ramachandran, the mirror box is a simple yet revolutionary tool. It helps people with phantom limb pain by creating the illusion that the missing limb is moving. When the patient moves their healthy limb while looking into a mirror, the reflection tricks the brain into believing the phantom limb is working. Over time, this visual feedback can reduce pain and retrain the brain. It's another powerful example of how sight and perception directly influence our body and mind. Hollow mask illusion, the face that follows you. Have you ever seen a hollow mask, like the inside of a plastic face, that seems to follow you as you move? That's the hollow mask illusion. Your brain refuses to perceive the face as concave because it expects faces to bulge outward. This illusion reveals just how strong our expectations are when interpreting faces. The brain overrules the raw visual input in favor of what it thinks should be true, demonstrating just how biased our perception can be. The body swap experiment. Whose body is this? Using virtual reality, researchers have conducted body swap experiments that make participants feel like they are in someone else's body. When visual and tactile stimuli are aligned, the brain adopts the other body as its own. These experiments are not just cool tricks, they're being used to explore empathy, identity, and self-awareness. They suggest that our sense of self is more flexible than we think, and that it can be influenced by surprisingly simple sensory manipulations. The invisible rope tug. The power of social suggestion. In the invisible rope tug experiment, two pranksters pretend to pull an invisible rope across a walkway. Strangers stop, step over, or go around the imaginary rope even though it's not real. This social experiment taps into suggestibility and social conformity. People rely on context and others' behavior to make decisions. If everyone else is acting like something is real, we're more likely to go along even when it makes no logical sense. The invisible gorilla test. You missed what? In one of the most famous experiments in psychology, participants are told to count how many times a basketball is passed between players in white shirts. Midway through the video, a person in a gorilla suit walks through the scene, pounds their chest, and walks off, and most people never notice it. This is the invisible gorilla test, and it highlights inattentional blindness, our tendency to miss obvious things when we're focused on something else. It reveals the limits of attention and challenges the belief that we see everything happening around us. The fake elevator floor drop. Fear without falling. Imagine standing in an elevator when suddenly the floor appears to collapse beneath your feet. In this prank-based psychology test, visual and auditory cues make people believe they're falling even though the elevator never moves. This illusion plays on our vestibular system, which helps us maintain balance and orientation. When what we see contradicts what we feel, the brain panics. It's a vivid demonstration of how easily fear can be triggered when the senses don't align. What these experiments reveal. Each of these experiments taps into a different sensory or cognitive function: vision, hearing, touch, attention, and even pain perception. But they all reveal the same fundamental truth. Our brains don't show us the world as it really is, they show us a version shaped by assumptions, shortcuts, and predictions. If you found your senses shaken and your brain bent by these psychological experiments, imagine what else lies beneath the surface of everyday perception.